ASEAN Dailies. First and the foremost news from Southeast Asia.
Hi, this is Arlene.
Hello, this is Grace.
And of course, you are with us on our very beautiful morning where we bring you news on our ASEAN Dailies.
That's correct. And then we've got quite a number of news that we can discuss, and we can do commentary and also a bit of reporting from Southeast Asia.
So first of all, a news not from Southeast Asia, but just a mention on what happened in, it was in China, if I'm not mistaken. Was it? Oh, in Taiwan.
In Taiwan.
Apologies about that. So in Taiwan, there was a concert, and unfortunately, in the middle of the concert, there was a fire, and apparently a Malaysian student suffered a second-degree burn after explosion at the Color Play Asia celebration in Formosa Water Park, New Taipei City.
And this sort of celebration or festival is pretty well known for having a lot of to play with the colors and the waters. But however, when it was exploded, it was unfortunately a Malaysian student who was affected, and then that person is taken into hospital. But then when they wanted to treat that person, it was already burned, and she had to suffer from the second-degree burns, which is quite serious. So it looks like the hospital side as well as the people from the Malaysian Friendship and Trade Center in Taipei, they wanted to assist and look into the further to have further investigation on this.
So regarding on the injuries itself, there were a lot of people, nearly 500 people were injured in a way. But besides a Malaysian, apparently in Singapore, it was reported a Singaporean woman was also hurt. And it seems like it was such a huge fire burn, and a total of 498 out of 1,000 people at the water park were injured. 202 people were seriously injured, experiencing second-degree burn or more.
That's
which
correct.
is 40 to 50% of their body are being burned.
Yes. So it is very important when it comes to incident like this at the festival or concert. It's either the organizers or even the government needs to warn people what they need to look after. But in fact, this case, they are going for the further investigation to see the cause of this explosion, what has exactly happened.
So on the other hand, another country is also experiencing a huge burn, not in terms of physical burn, but in terms of their debt crisis, is the Greek debt crisis. It was such a huge deal yesterday, reporting from Europe. Banks to stay shut and capital controls imposed to Greece, and Greek banks are also to remain closed and capital control imposed. This is according to the Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras. And speaking after the European Central Bank, it was not increasing the emergency fund to Greek banks. And he spoke, the Greek deposits were safe. Greece is also due to make a 1.6 billion euro or 1.1 billion pound payment to the International Monetary Fund on Tuesday, which is tomorrow, that its current bailout expires. So they are not able to extend their bailout due date. In fact, they need to pay it by tomorrow, or not they will face bankruptcy.
Well, the Greek news and the crisis in Greece has been going on for quite a long time, and then they have been borrowing lots of funds and money from different organizations as a community. But then the problem was they didn't just couldn't afford to pay all those debts, and it just piling up worse and worse. And now they may be pulled out from the EU, or in terms of the currency even, and a lot of people in Greece, they were expecting that what will happen to Greece, the country, financially. And like you mentioned, that the Greek prime minister said the wages and the pensions as well as the bank deposits, they were all guaranteed. He always express things just to make sure it comes with the patience, and then you just need to wait and see. However, looking at the reality, it's a bit contradicting, and a lot of analysts from outside of Greece also giving a bit of negative comments on the Greek situation.
It's definitely going down the drain when it comes to the situation in Greece. In fact, a lot of people are withdrawing their money. You see a lot of people withdrawing money from cash machines all over the weekend at the Bank of Greece, saying that it's making huge efforts to keep the machines stocked, because when the banks are being frozen, that means it's going to be really hard for the Greek people. And he also, Alexis Tsipras, is also a Twitter person, and he tweeted that in the coming days, what's needed is patience and composure. The bank deposit of the Greek people are fully secure. #Greece. It's kind of cute for him to write like that.
Yes, but it comes with a lot of concerns, like you mentioned, Arlene, that the bank will be frozen for sure, and that will lead for Greek people, to spend less money, and also business to less to invest, and eventually it will weaken the economy even worse, and will probably return to the deep recession in that country.
But on the other hand, it's not like the EU doesn't want them at all. In fact, German Chancellor Angela Merkel as well as US President Barack Obama has spoken to the crisis by the phone, agreeing that it was critically important to have Greece remain in the Eurozone. And besides that, French Prime Minister Manuel Valls told French TV that they must do everything so that Greece stays in the Eurozone. So in a way, they are also helping Greece to maintain in the Eurozone, but at the same time, Greece definitely need to clean up their shit together.
They really need to clean up their debt as well as, but coming from this expression, then German and US as well as the French prime ministers made it such a statement is very helpful, and it is comforting for Greek situation. But then we need to see the actions. How can they help? Because they've been helping for all these years, and it was also the country, the Greece itself, it couldn't afford to pay all the huge debt, and only it gets bigger and worse.
Yeah, I don't know how they're going to pay, because their total debt is 323 billion euro. If you are converting it to Malaysian ringgit, you have to times 3, which is like almost $1 trillion almost a trillion ringgit. And if you look at the kind of debt, you can go to bbc.com. They have a really interesting infographic showing how much debt that Greece is owing to which banks or which financial funds. It's pretty interesting to see that. On the other hand, talking about global news, also another unfortunate event happened during the weekend. That was a shooting happened at the beach in Tunisia, and because of that, residents in Tunisia's most popular resort town say that the attack will be a death blow to the country's tourism industry. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, it was quite shocking news in that country, and also like you mentioned that it's a tourism country, and then according to the news and also other media agency, they said perhaps tourism is not for Tunisia anymore. And it was the Friday attack on the Sousse tourist beach, and apparently it was very bloody in the Tunisia's recent history, and it comes with several months behind another incident that happened at the Bardo Museum in Tunis, and that happened to have killed 22 tourists. So that incident and the recent incident that happened, altogether these two attacks sort of aligned together, blocking this tourism industry.
It's really sad to see that Tunisia is being attacked by ISIS in a way, because Tunisia, if you look through their recent history, they managed to create a very I would say liberating constitution for their country, and at the same time their people are definitely different from the rest of Middle East, where they believe in liberty, freedom and democracy. They topple their long-term dictator, but in the recent years, it seems like the terrorist group, ISIS, they are looking at Tunisia and they want to take control of Tunisia. And what we are seeing right now is terrorist attack in the Middle East, and definitely not a safe place for tourists anymore. A majority of the tourists that were killed are unfortunately Europeans, especially from the UK. So to me personally, terrorism is a global threat. Just because we are in Southeast Asia doesn't mean that they won't attack us. And I think we also have to strengthen our security border and make sure that we won't be affected as much as Tunisia is being affected right now.
Of course, and the attacks intention, even though they were unclear, but it leads to destroy the whole life of the hundreds of thousands of Tunisians, and also it's affecting the economically in the country as well, and that result to make the people poor and also hungry and destabilize the state. So apparently now the Tunisians are all against this terrorism. And I hope to see any actions that can be taken to protect and also protect the citizens of Tunisia, as well as to be more aware of the attacks from ISIS.
Another attack that is facing right now is definitely Vietnam's minority group, the Christian Montagnard, and the Human Rights Watch has actually organized a press conference in Thailand to highlight what has happened with the Christian minorities in Vietnam. But unfortunately, the Thailand's military-run government has forced the Human Rights Watch to cancel the event in Bangkok to launch a report into alleged abuses in Vietnam.
And then it's been going on for some time when it comes to these issues. And what do you think, Arlene, when it comes to sort of this conflict?
It's interesting because at Duran ASEAN we have been reporting this quite some time. We have been following the news, and to us it's really disappointing seeing that countries in Southeast Asia are taking a backseat when it comes to protecting minority rights, especially in minority rights in either practicing religion or not practicing certain religion. In the case of Vietnam, which is different from the case of Malaysia or Myanmar, Vietnam is an atheist country based on communist principles or political system. In a way, minorities like the Christian Montagnard, they are being persecuted for not being similar to the majority of Vietnamese, which are majority free thinkers or atheists. But at the same time, I would say that the biggest challenge right now is how can ASEAN respond to this, because it seems like ASEAN is keeping away from issues regarding on minority rights.
That means, again, our question to ASEAN is, where is ASEAN stands at this point again? Not only this issue, but if you remember the Rohingya issues also, a lot of people are questioning, where is ASEAN? Where is ASEAN's voice? Because ASEAN was shouting out for people's, centered, whole this community, but again, it's reporting, and then a lot of news have been released regarding this human rights and the minority in Southeast Asia. So we really need to come up with the policy or mechanism just to see where can and how and when will ASEAN really take place.
And what we are seeing right now is Vietnamese government instead being very harsh towards the Christian Montagnard and condemn their religious practices, have been described by the government as evil, which is I don't understand why as well. And Sunai Pakso, a senior researcher for the Human Rights Watch in Asia, said the decision to cancel the report's launch was very, very disappointing.
Right.
Thailand is now going to be known as the defender of human rights violators in Southeast Asia, which adds more damage to Thailand's already tarnished international reputation. I think the whole reputation in Southeast Asia are being tarnished. I mean, you go all the way from Myanmar to Singapore to somehow Indonesia. There's one key human rights issue that they have been violated, and they don't dare to keep to voice out against it. And this is really terrible for Southeast Asia to be known as a region that doesn't care about human rights.
That's right. I mean, it comes with a lot of factors, and it could be culture that Southeast Asia holds. But then we shouldn't really fall back to our cultural side when it comes to certain very serious issue that's been going on for a long time.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, we will take one short break. When we return, we will talk about something more positive, which is related to the same-sex marriage in the US.
ASEAN Dailies. First and foremost news from Southeast Asia.
Hey, good morning.
Welcome back. This is Grace.
And of course, you are still with us on our ASEAN Daily. So the biggest news during the weekend was, of course, the news of the Supreme Court judges that have been allowing. They make a really interesting nationwide judge that same-sex marriage is finally legalized.
And it brought a lot of mixed feedback from audience. A majority in social media especially, they've been very supportive towards the same-sex marriage legalization in US. And then there's a lot of people, especially those who have been waiting for to have a certain rights when it comes to the same-sex marriage. They are more than happy.
It's really overwhelming to feel that this is happening in the U.S. In the past, I would only imagine the U.S. being mainly religious country. They won't allow things like same-sex marriage to be legalized in the highest court, which is the Supreme Court. But in a landmark 5-4 ruling, the Supreme Court has made the decision to legalize it in the United States. This means marriage equality has come to all 50 states, including the 13 states where same-sex marriage is illegal.
And well, this same-sex marriage between the straight couples doesn't differ from the marriage between same-sex couple, and that's why the upholding the laws that discriminate against them is unlawful according to the U.S. And then the judge has made a very, very literate and also very beautiful statement when he released when he finalized this the same-sex marriage. But like I mentioned before, there are very mixed feedbacks coming from the peoples and also even citizens in America that even though it was legalized, where is the morality when it comes to same-sex marriage? A lot of mixed feelings. However, when you come to this law stance, when you are married to somebody that you love, that's very philosophical. But however, the law stands where we are here to give them the right. We give them the freedom to do whatever they want to. Because before, when same-sex marriage was not legalized, these couples, they couldn't even have a right to adopt the babies or even have a right to buy the properties. But then with these laws, it's more open and they are giving them more platforms and more rights to all these people. So it's a positive news.
Yeah, it's definitely a positive news because it's not just about recognizing same-sex couple but giving them rights. I think that is the most important thing. Just I see marriage as a form of contract. It can be an economy. It's not just a contract between two lovers or two people, but also it's an economic contract, it's a legal contract as well, and it's of course is a way for two people to say that they really love each other. It's a union. This is what Justice Kennedy, which is one of the court judges at the Supreme Courts, their opinion, his opinion as of here, he said that no union is more profound than marriage, for it embodies the highest ideals of love, fidelity, devotion, sacrifice, and family. In forming a marital union, two people become something greater than once they were. As some of the petitioners in these cases demonstrate, marriage embodies a love that may endure even past death. It would misunderstand these men and women to say that they disrespect the idea of marriage. The plea is that they do respect it so deeply that they seek to find its fulfillment for themselves. Their hope is not to be condemned to live in loneliness, excluded from one of civilization's oldest institutions. They ask for equal dignity in the eyes of the law. The Constitution grants them the rights. The judgment of the Court of Appeal for the Sixth Circuit is reversed. It is so ordered. So it's really beautiful the way he put it. The way he put it in terms of why it is important for same-sex couple to have the same right as heterosexual couple is because it's at the end of the day it's about love. It's about recognizing unionship, and of course at the end of the day it's about rights, equal dignity in the eyes of the law.
That's very true, and he has put it in such a way that it's very understanding of the statement, as well as to give the rights to all these couples. But however, there are also other perhaps the countries or people or community they are still against the same-sex marriage.
In the US, of course, a lot of the Republicans are definitely not happy with the verdict. In fact, they think that is actually disrespecting religion. And I don't agree with it. I think even if you are a very religious person, even if you secretly do not want to recognize same-sex couple to or same-sex marriages, at the end of the day, you should respect equal dignity in front of the law. You don't have to agree with the person. You just have to agree that everyone should have equal rights. On the other hand, it definitely had affected the global world, especially the Philippine Catholics. They seem to be taking it in a very negative way. They're standing firm against gay marriage.
And then they're not coming only from the law perspectives, they're also coming from their morality and the religious perspectives. And the Philippines is very well known for having this Catholicism in that country. So when the U.S. legalized the gay marriage on Sunday, maybe the majority of the Filipinos, they went against the decisions they made by the U.S. Supreme Court. And in fact, the Philippine government affirmed that under this law, marriage is still between a man and woman, and only an act of Congress can change this, unlike in the United States. So they're coming from the religious point of view, and that they also mentioned the church. They will continue to maintain what it has always taught. Marriage is permanent union of man and woman. So they're talking about the human beings perspective of man and woman. There are reasons why we are born this way, and then why is it necessary to legalize the same sex man and woman and woman from the first place.
When you say born this way, it reminds me of Lady Gaga song, which I love so much. So it's really sad that Philippines, being a country that is so forward-looking when it comes to human rights in Southeast Asia, is against gay marriage. I wish that they can change that law and somehow could open up their minds that just because Christianity have certain values that they hold strong to doesn't mean that they don't provide rights to minority groups. On the other hand, besides the Philippines, a lot of people might not realize, but even a very democratic and I would say first world country like Australia, sadly, is also not legalizing same-sex marriage. And people in Australia are responding to Tony Abbott, which is their Prime Minister, anti-marriage equality stance with the Facebook filter, the rainbow Facebook filter, which probably more than 50% of my Facebook friends are doing it.
Yeah. And then this has been going very viral. The first thing that you log into Facebook, and then the second thing you will see is probably the rainbow profile pictures all over. And of course, when he mentioned that, look, I know the Supreme Court decisions and also haven't had a chance to study it, but look, what happens in the United States is obviously meant for the US. But as for our own country, which is Australia, obviously there's a community debate going on regarding this same-sex marriage. So because of this sort of, they are calling the passive-aggressive style that Tony Abbott has been playing regarding this same-sex marriage, a lot of people have been rainbowing him on the social media.
But it's so funny. I think our Australians have a really great sense of humor. The way they make fun of their politician, I think it's something that we should learn from Malaysia. It's really healthy. I think you need to take politics with a dash of salt. You cannot be so serious about it all the time.
That's correct.
Anyway, we'll take another one short break. When we return, we will continue with economic and socio-cultural news from Southeast Asia.
ASEAN Dailies. First and the foremost news from Southeast Asia.
Hey, I'm back. This is Arlene.
Welcome back. This is Grace.
And of course, you are with us still on ASEAN Daily. Do you know that bird's nest will be Malaysia's probably one of the big industry?
Very interesting because when you talking about the bird's nests, the word itself is very interesting to hear.
Well, have you tried bird's nest before?
I have not.
Well, to me, it's just one word to tell you: bland. Yeah, there's no taste to bird's nest, but it's of course been seen as an exotic cuisine, and Malaysia will be able to export 10 tons of raw, clean bird's nest to China monthly once the number of processing plants in the country reaches 40. And of course, when it comes to bird's nest, majority of the consumer are the Chinese. So I don't know Koreans eat bird's nest or not.
I don't think we're very familiar with the word also. I mean, we just talked about the dog meat festival in China as well as in Korea. We don't have the festival in Korea, but then we talked majorly about in China, and now we are talking about the bird's nest. And it looks very optimistic when it comes to this industry, saying that it's going to see a better position in the near future, as they are very optimistic about this the processing plants, and they will also receive their official appointments by CNCA, which is the certification and accreditation of the People's Republic of China.
Mm-hmm.
So this, with the official agreement and documents, they'll be able to bring the 10 tons of this bird nest.
Okay, that's a lot of money to be made, and a lot of money will be made when it comes to the Italian businesses. Apparently, ASEAN countries hold potential for the Italians. The Association of Southeast Asia countries have infinite potential for Italian businesses, according to Secretary General Lim Hong Hin. And he was speaking on the margins of the first session of the second edition of the Eurasia Workshop in Rome. It is important for Italy, which stood out among the 28 European countries for the solidity of its economy, to take initiative of this sort when he first contacted the Italian Chambers of Commerce in Bangkok.
Yeah, it is very sort of refreshing to hear Italian of all the way from European countries to show the interest in when it comes to business in ASEAN. And also, well, although although EU has been helping a lot and also showing a lot of support towards ASEAN, but not to forget the Italian business in investing in ASEAN countries. It is also quite a they have been doing in their own ways, even though it is still low, just a few hundreds. But then perhaps they will show more potential in investing.
There's definitely more potential, and especially with the Eurasia workshop, where it would give Italian entrepreneurs a clear picture of the potential of the ASEAN market. So made in Italy goods could also have access to an enormous group of consumers, considering the population of Southeast Asia is 600 million, not to mention the whole of Asia altogether is in, I think, probably more than 3 billions. And talking about investment, apparently Indonesia is going to be 8th largest AIIB shareholders with $672 million stake.
So it looks like Indonesia is finally being active in certain agreements, and then, like you mentioned, they will sign up for AIIB, and also they will be the 8th largest shareholder when it comes to this particular agreement. And it is also without the detailing what percentage its share would represent, and this will begin with authorized the capital of $50 billion, and also eventually to be raised to the $100 billion. That's a lot of money we're talking
That's
about.
good news definitely for Indonesia, especially they are trying to rebuild the nation in terms of infrastructure and also other forms of connectivity. Finance Minister Bambang Brojonegoro is scheduled to travel to Beijing to sign the agreement. And of course, Indonesia economy is weakening and unemployment is on the rise, and definitely the AIIB news is being taken in a very positive tone. But at the same time, President Joko Widodo is definitely in a rut as when it comes to trying to fix its economy.
And it is quite contradicting news, to be honest. But then when it comes to unemployment issues in Indonesia, because Indonesia holds quite large populations there, and when it comes to economic, you cannot ignore, but then just to account that it is unemployment issues around the Southeast Asia. And now we're talking about this Indonesia, where there are, when it comes to economic states, it's quite unreliable at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And then the 2/3 of Southeast Asia's biggest economy, it also comes from perhaps Indonesia and other countries. So when young people are, looking for the job and that they are being the hit hardest, this International Labor Organization estimated that the youth jobless rate was more than 20% in 2013, and then it is going to reach even higher.
Mm-hmm. And the sad part is the slowdown is also affecting higher paid jobs, including in financial services. And from mid-2013 to late last year, a number of foreigners holding work permits in Indonesia is estimated to have dropped 20%. And partly because expatriate job seekers saw more opportunities in Western countries, which is such an irony. I thought they see more opportunities in Asia. So there's definitely something wrong in Indonesia's economy that needs to be fixed, or not they will suffer their economy.
Exactly.
And of course further reduce their productivity in the coming months. And talking about productivity in terms of Myanmar's tourism, it definitely is going higher up. And what we are seeing right now is Myanmar's tourism authorities are proceeding with their development plans in anticipation of the industry, as it seems to be bright, and after, especially even after the general election, which is expected in November.
Perhaps that's why the Myanmar is opening up even more because of the coming up elections. However, to be honest, there are quite a lot of sites that you can visit Myanmar when it comes to historical buildings and even the places, because apart from Yangon, not many places are developed. But then it's to visit there. Perhaps it's a good tourist attractions point in Southeast Asia.
I've been to Myanmar 3 times, and I can tell you that it's a really, really beautiful country, especially on the countryside. I would suggest for backpackers, for vacationer to go outside of Yangon and experience the countryside in different states. Shan states have their famous Inle Lake, and of course in other places, for example, Chin State, they have Mount Natma, one of the protected area designated as National Park. And of course, there are also few cities which are now registered as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The Miak Archipelago, comprising of about 800 islands, Kau in Kaya State and Rakhine State are also among the country's potential destination. Definitely, if they are foreseeing a brighter future in tourism, they need to fix their human rights record with the Rohingya. To end up our news, we have other 2 news to bring to you. Number one, the first one is regarding on WHO. It has named Vietnam as a new global vaccine supplier.
And then they state the statement was released just last week that it officially recognized Vietnamese vaccine supplies to be fit for worldwide use.
Yay!
And it's good news for Vietnam and also in Southeast Asia. And then it may bring a lot of developing countries to produce the quality vaccines at affordable prices like Vietnam. But not only the small number in that which has been invested in the capacity.
Who knows, Vietnam has been exporting 4 vaccines to 4 countries, including Malaysia. Measly vaccines is exported to Malaysia, hepatitis B vaccine to South Korea, diarrhea vaccine to East Timor, and hepatitis C vaccine to the Philippines. So you know what? Hats off to Vietnam for being one step forward in the medicine field.
But we also need to come up with the MERS vaccine for these current issues.
And to end up our news is about just a mention on the dirt bike tour, a new way to experience Sabah.
Yes, a dirt bike, it sounds very, very quite attracting enough. But then this group of riders will be working with the state government to offer another tourism project in Sabah as International Borneo Adventure Touring, and it will attract a lot of tourists there. And in fact, this tour manager Eldam Chia said that there was a potential to develop this bike tour around Borneo Island project, as there were demands from visitors who look for hardcore types of trip.
And he said that our riders had to rely on locals and riders from there to provide us information and direction, adding that such approach enabled a group of 7 people to know better of the places of interest, the local culture, economy, languages in Kalimantan. So I can't wait to see to me, this is really interesting. Even I would love to plan a dirt bike tour in Sabah, Sarawak, Brunei, and Kalimantan. These are areas that are seldom traveled by for Southeast Asians.
Exactly.
and also Malaysians in general.
And then you will also see the whole map in Sabah, how you can actually bike around, and also you can bring your friends and families. It is actually healthy sport, even though it could be a bit hardcore, but give it a try in Sabah.
That's all from our news today. You can always listen to us same time 8 o'clock at Durian ASEAN on our official website durianasian.com, and as well as on the go by downloading the TuneIn app and listen and search for Durian ASEAN, or on our Facebook page you can listen to us live as well.
And then leave us the feedback.